Okay, today we are playing a game on Nepal. We are playing Reaper the entire way through, and the average is 1900, as you may expect, up in the... It's because it tells us, like, right up here. So, let's look at the team. It's better than a lot of teams. For one thing, we don't have Junkrat, so that's cool. Every time we don't have a Junkrat, we're having a good day. But it's still a little awkward. We've got 2-2-2, 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 healers, and they're all split up, so I can't draw a nice line under anyone. So, 2-2-2, that's fine. We tend to favor 3 tanks at the moment, but 2-2-2 is still serviceable. It's perfectly fine. It's a little awkward that we have Genji, because Genji doesn't really fit in very well right now, just because we are in the middle of a meta where we have 3 or 4 tanks per team. And Genji is not very good at killing tanks, so he's a little bit awkward. A tank is not really going to kill Genji, most of them anyway, but Genji isn't going to kill a tank, But other than that, it's pretty much fine. I would prefer if Zenyatta was playing Ana, just because Ana is like the best support in the game right now, but Zenyatta is also perfectly fine. I think Reaper actually works really well on Nepal. There's a lot of corners to play around. There's lots of ways to get behind the enemy team. I think it suits Reaper's playstyle fairly well. And of course we've got Lucio, Reinhardt, and D.Va, pretty much your taster's choice of tanks and healers. So, let's start now. So, team is split up and is going in many directions right now. We do all meet up at the front gate. We don't really want to go in from the gate if at all possible. We'd rather go up the ramp on the left-hand side out of the spawn so that we can fight from up on the high ground over here. Just because this is, it's much easier to fight up here, because when you go in through this gate, there's just this huge open expanse where you have to fight in, and there's just no cover in. It's very difficult to push through this area, especially when your Reinhardt's off over here like this, not even holding his shield up because he thinks he's playing a DPS. It's just much easier to fight up on the high ground, and then you can just sort of pressure down into the point and then jump down. And once you pick somebody off, and just force them off. And most of the time, as you get higher and higher, the other team is going to do the same thing, so you just sort of fight it out over here at the staircases, and then the winner gets to take the point. So, we'd rather go up there, but we're fairly low in SR right now, so this is more of where you would expect to be going in with this team. So, Reinhardt just goes in, thinks he's playing a DPS, doesn't even put his shield up, dies instantaneously, and then Zenyatta's going to get picked off as well. Now, you back out really far right here, and I get, we should back out right now because our main tank and one of the supports are dead. So, we should be backing out right now, but the rest of your team is actually still in here fighting, and it's not like they lose this fight decisively. By the time Lucio dies, Reinhardt's actually coming back. So we could be in here right now, trying to make something of this, because the enemy team is also really scattered. Like, Junkrat was, over here pretty much by himself. Mei was over here pretty much by herself. She killed Lucio. If you were on the other side of the ice wall, you and Lucio would have probably actually been able to kill her, because it's hard to fight 2 people when there's only one of you, believe it or not. So, while, yes, we would have liked, ideally, to come out and wait for the team, because our team was in here and the fight was so spread out, we could actually have been in there this whole time, trying to pick someone off and trying to make something out of the situation. And you're Reaper as well, so you benefit very much from a scattered fight, because then you can just pick off one person by themselves, heal by eating their soul, and then you can just sort of try and snowball it off like that. I like playing Reaper a lot on this type of map because he does snowball like that. He's very independent. If it's a scattered fight, he can heal himself up and just sort of snowball across the battle, and just he can almost win a battle by himself if the enemy team isn't really worrying about him. And right now we're wasting a lot of time right now. We're not really doing anything. We're sort of waiting for the perfect time to go in with our entire team, but it never really comes because the team is gonna be scattered. That's just how it's gonna be to lower SR. So right now, this whole time that we've been out here in the choke point waiting around, we could have instead got up the ramp back over near the spawn on the left-hand side, and we could be up here, and nobody else has been up here this entire time on the enemy team, so we could just sort of be prowling around up here, looking down, peeking out, trying to find someone by themselves, trying to find, like, a support off by themselves, and then we could jump in, we could pick them off really quickly, and then we can just Wraith form back out the gate again. That's the great thing about Reaper, is you go in and you go in and look for the sneaky play where you pick someone off, and then you just Wraith form right back out to your team, and it's like nothing ever happened. It's like you were never there at all. And then you've made that fight a 5v6 immediately, and then you can just push in with the rest of your team and hopefully, like, get in off that. So we could be being a lot more proactive right now, trying to pick off somebody by themselves. Very brave to even take a shot at him and not just hold down the shift key. Oh, that's a thing. If you're playing someone like Reaper or, Mei, someone with, like, a defensive ability, Tracer with recall, not a lot of people actually know this. If you hold down the button while you're being CC'd, so if you're playing Reaper, if you just hold down left shift while you're being, hooked or whatever, the second that you can Wraith form, if you're holding it down, it will Wraith form immediately. So you can, if you get hooked in by Roadhog and he waits just a little bit too long and you're holding the button down, you just get away for free. So that's just a little thing to bear in mind. So, again, we're not using our teleport this entire time as well. The Reaper's teleport is actually really good for getting behind people as well. Like, there have been a few points, even while we've been standing over by the gate, where we could just teleport on top of the point, and then again, we could just be peeking over the corner, looking for somebody off by themselves, get in, get them, Wraith form out, or at least drop them low, something like that, you know? Or we could go off this side, down here, and, like, teleport across the gap to try and get in there. Reaper's teleport is actually really good for getting behind people, because if they're not listening, which a lot of people don't listen for Reaper's teleport, he can actually get behind people and surprise them quite easily. So, a bit of we could have maybe gotten a kill there if we focused on one person. We kind of flipped back and forth between Roadhog, Lucio, and Zarya for who we were going to try and kill. Might have gotten one of them if we focused a little bit more. This is also something as well, because something I was picking up while I was watching this earlier was it seems like you're not entirely sure on Reaper's most effective range to be firing at. You either seem to be trying to fire from too far away or, like, well, I don't want to say too close, because he has shotguns, obviously, so you can't really be too close, but being too far away. And I would actually recommend there are a few people I would recommend having the default crosshair for, and Reaper's one of them, because it shows you like his spread very well, so that you can and it sort of gives you more of an idea of how close you should be to the enemy, so that you can get most of the pellets to land on them. There are a few people I think it's worth having the default crosshair for: Reaper, Roadhog, Zarya, Hanzo. There's someone else. Can't think of it right now. It's not important. We're playing Reaper right now. So I would actually recommend having the default crosshair, at least while you sort of acclimate Reaper's effective range, because you seem to play very far back while you're playing Reaper. You gotta play very decisively when you're playing Reaper. You gotta see someone off by themselves and then go, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna get them, and then I'm gonna just get right back out again. Alright, so now we're sort of more in the area we want to be. It's just you and Roadhog, you know, which is a little unfortunate. We get Roadhog over here, that's good. Right, Lucio's died over there. Unfortunately, okay, so, like, a lot is happening right now. Let's watch the whole thing through first. So, very bravely, we're approaching Mei as we're about to come out of Wraith form. We have to be pretty confident we're gonna kill Mei quickly, or we're gonna come out of Wraith form, get frozen, and be sad. That's a very common occurrence with Reaper. So let's go back and look at that a bit more closely, because a lot happened. So, Roadhog gets a hook on the other Roadhog, gets discorded, we get him before he can even start healing. That's good, that's good. Now, so, you're sort of, I think you're trying to get Lucio here, and that's great. Yeah, obviously we're trying to get the supports, but we do know the enemy team has a Mercy, and we see Mercy right here, she's over here, and then she's off in this direction. Right now, we should be trying to get Mercy. Mercy is our #1 priority when we're playing someone like Reaper, because we don't want to have Mercy res the entire team, and so when we have the opportunity to get in on Mercy, we want to try and get in on her as much as possible. So we should have ignored all of this and tried to get in on Mercy. She's rezzed now, so that's unfortunate, but this fight still goes our way. Again, very bravely approaching Mei while coming out of Wraith form, but then we back off, and Mei doesn't really want to go in either. It was a little bit awkward. So we've got Death Blossom now. So there's sort of two ways we could approach Death Blossom, and you can use it in sort of a defensive way, which is how we're about to use it, where they're coming in on us, they aggress on us, and we use it when they've overcommitted, and that's perfectly fine. It's a little more difficult to do that, just because Death Blossom is, it requires you to keep spinning. If you get immediately CC'd or something, it's much riskier to do this. We usually want to use Death Blossom from a position where the enemy doesn't know we're coming, so that it's basically risk-free, where they would have to react very quickly to CC us out of the ultimate, and we can just do big damage. Now, this map for Nepal is really, really, really good to be playing Reaper on and have Death Blossom, because we can be standing on the roof right now. I would like if we just teleported up here, or just straight onto the roof, whatever. If we just teleported up onto the roof, and then we can just keep peeking over the corner, and as soon as we see a group of enemies below us, and it doesn't have to be a lot of people, it could just be like Mercy and someone, or just the healers, whatever. Or it could be all 6 people, if, we're lucky enough. And then we just jump down, Death Blossom, they don't know we're coming, and then bam, we kill at least a couple of people, right? Ideally Mercy as well. So, but we sort of stick around in the point and wait for people to come in on us. We could be going up much more aggressively there because we caught Roadhog while he was healing. Don't be afraid of a Roadhog if you're playing Reaper. Just start walking at him. You do have to be careful not to get hooked, obviously, but you can pretty much tell when a Roadhog's gonna try and hook you, because from that situation, he's gonna turn and look at us, and then he's gonna try and hook us. So we can just Wraith form when we think he's about to hook, go up to him, and then just lay into him, right? And what's Roadhog gonna do about that? He's gonna do nothing. He's gonna get killed, because Reaper just shreds him. Then we Wraith form a little bit late there, because we start taking a lot of damage, and we're getting frozen. Now, right now, this is a sort of an awareness thing, which we did talk about a little bit last game, assuming you're still watching this game. Maybe you watched the first game and went, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. That's fine. But, so, this is going back to the awareness thing we talked about last game. Mei ults, and she throws the robot right here. It's right here. And we don't really react to it until it's already going. We could have gotten out of this area of effect by just walking forward when we saw it coming, or trying to walk backwards as well. And now we're gonna ult right in the middle of everyone, they're gonna panic like fuck, and we're gonna kill everyone. And that's great. No one CC'd us, everybody was panicking, it was a bad time for them, and it was a good time for us. That was a little awkward. Again, I think your sensitivity is just a little bit too low. It looked like you were having trouble tracking her through the air. And there was a point earlier where you had to turn across the table 2 times to actually turn around. So again, I think your sensitivity is just a little bit too low. So this is, again, I don't really like that we're just sort of standing around in the point. We're not really being very proactive. We could be doing many more things right now. We could be hanging out up here, just sort of watching from below, trying to jump down and pick people off, as we talked about earlier. Or we could, since we took the point and then we wiped them at one point as well, we could actually go up here and then just start going off on their ramp, because they're not playing up on the ramp. They're very scattered and disorganized. So we could go over on their ramp, approaching the high ground, and be trying to pick people off as they're coming to reinforce as well, because they'll be very scattered, and we could perhaps pick off Mercy or a DPS as they're coming in. But instead we're just sort of standing around on the point, kind of waiting for them to basically be on the point before we even start shooting at them. It's just, we could be doing more with this time. Because we want to be doing something more often than we're not doing anything, right? It sounds obvious, but it's just things like waiting around, being like, oh, I'll defend the point. Well, you could just, you could be off, looking for people, or trying to make it so they can't even get to the point to begin with, rather than just waiting on the point, being like, oh, I'll wait for them to come to me. So we need to be trying to get in a little bit more right now. Now, we're running away. We're running away, but we shouldn't be running away because we're at 99% right now. Even though you were like 150 health and you were like, I want to go and get this health. But if the game is about to end, your only concern is keeping the game in overtime. No one's going to be mad if you go in on the point on overtime to get it into overtime and die immediately, because the important thing is you're in there trying to get it on overtime. And Reaper's really good in overtime because he can contest the point while he's in Wraith form, so he can get more time out of the payload, well, not just the payload, out of the point than most other people can in that kind of situation. So don't run away when we're about to lose the round, right? Because it's better to go on the point, die, but keep it on overtime than it is to go off and try to heal and be alive, but you lost the round, so it doesn't matter that you're still alive, right? So, try not to do that. Alright, so our team changed a little bit. We have a Tracer instead of a Genji now, which I think is an objective improvement, but we now have a Junkrat, so we're incredibly sad about that. Alright, so, yeah, we're being very apprehensive here about going forward. We're waiting for the tanks, but since we got there and nobody was there, we could have been going around the sides of the point looking in, trying to see if somebody's off by themselves, and just sort of getting set up in a more defensive position, other than retreating down the staircase. And we could be playing more forward here, as long, like, there's not too much over here that can kill you very quickly. They have a Symmetra now as well, which is, a little awkward, but whatever, it works out for them. I don't like that you also, look at the health kit as you're approaching the health kit. You know where the health kit is. You should be looking around again, trying to get a feel for where the enemy is. Not sure why we're waiting down here right now, because our team is fighting up on the point right now, and we're kind of just standing at the bottom of the staircase, like, what to do now? Again, it's very much like the game on Gibraltar. It seems like you don't have a very clear idea of what you should be doing. On King of the Hill map, if you're playing someone like Reaper, it's really easy to pick people off, especially at lower SR like we're at right now, because everyone is so scattered, and there are so many ways around that we can get to and just sneak up on people. We also waited for this health kit for an incredibly long time, doing nothing. We could have gone off to get another health kit instead of waiting for this one to respawn, which we, in fact, could have easily done because now we decide to go over in this direction, and there's a large health kit right here. So, again, we just wasted a few seconds standing around not really doing anything. Now we're waiting for the team to come back. Again, we're just kind of not really doing anything during this period of time. We could be going off, through the area we were just in. We could go through there, poke up on the edge and try to look for people by themselves, and I'm sounding a lot like a broken record, I know, but this is really what you should be trying to do on this kind of map, is you are trying to look to create opportunities when you're playing someone like Reaper, just because it is so easy for you to try and make these openings in the enemy team. Now, I paused here because you hesitate to shoot this Roadhog for a little while, because he has the Zarya barrier on him. Don't be afraid to, break Zarya's barrier, right? You kind of hesitate right there at the end after reloading. Don't be afraid to, shoot through Zarya's barrier if you're going to kill this is very unfortunate. We've all been in this situation where we find Junkrat ulting and we're like, oh, fuck, and then he kills us. Very unfortunate timing right there. But, don't be afraid to break Zarya's barrier if you're going to kill the person in there. Now, I do want to stress that. If you're going to break through Zarya's barrier, you have to either kill the person she has barriered, or you have to kill her herself. Or at least drop them low enough that they have to leave the fight. Because if you kill them or make them leave, that's great. That's well worth breaking the barrier to do that. I don't really like that you Death Blossom there, because Mercy had Discord on her, so you should have realistically been able to kill her without Death Blossoming. But you basically were like, I'm gonna do this to make sure I get her. But the only other person nearby was Roadhog, and it's just... Death Blossom does not do a lot of damage to Roadhog. I always laugh when I see a Reaper, ult in front of a Roadhog, so they'll, shoot at the Roadhog and then start ulting. You actually do less damage to Roadhog if you start ulting, because your ult does 300 damage over its entire duration, I think. I'm not 100% on that. But if you just shoot into Roadhog and get a fair chunk of the pellets to hit him in the head, like, it does, like, a lot of fucking damage. You can, like, 2 or 3 shot Roadhog as Reaper. It's really disgusting. You're asking if everybody's in team chat. It doesn't really matter, if I'm honest with you. Like, a lot of people fixate on team chat. It's not that important, especially at this rating. The only time that, having, like, a lot of communication matters is if the other team has a lot of communication. Like, if it's like a 6-stack versus a 6-stack, or a 5-stack versus a 5-stack, then it becomes important. But in a game like this, everybody's scattered and playing their own game, and you can't get people to really cooperate. It doesn't matter. So we're playing very hesitantly right here. We should be going in much more aggressively right now and just trying to get someone. We sit back and we don't even look at the fight until 2 of our team are dead, and it takes us a little while to realize that wasn't our Lucio. Like, we could have been playing so much more aggressively. We could have been poking and trying to get somebody, just like laying into Zarya or like trying to get Lucio or something like that. But we waited until the fight was basically already lost before we even went in. You have to play a lot more decisively if you're going to play someone like Reaper. He's not someone that can sit around and poke at the edge of a fight. He has to go into the fight and he has to kill people. He has to play very decisively. Like, again, we're standing around, like, 3 people are in here. Like, we could be in here right now looking for some kind of opportunity. This is a really good map to play Reaper on as well, because, we don't really go, like, over on this side of the map. Like, right through here, you can look over the balcony and teleport over to the point over here, just sort of behind where the big health kit is. And you can there's usually someone over on this area, just sort of looking in at the point. If you go over here and just, like, teleport behind them, really easy to just pick up a really easy kill right there, just because they probably aren't paying attention most of the time, and they're probably alone. So, again, we could be we don't really teleport this entire game, except to just sort of get back to the choke point faster so that we can stand around at the choke point, not really doing very much. Again, see, we're standing around at the back very apprehensive. We don't seem like we know what we're supposed to be doing. We gotta be going around people. Like here, right now, this is more of what we should be doing. We should have been doing this the whole time, trying to get around behind people, finding someone by themselves. Like right here, we should be focusing the Mercy, because we know Mercy's inside right now, and we don't really pick any one person, we kind of jump between all the targets. As soon as we saw Mercy's beam, we should have been like, bam, I'm going after Mercy right now, I'm gonna make her life difficult. But we bounce back and forth between people, and we don't get anybody, and we end up dying. But if we just decisively went, yes, Mercy, now, we could have gone in, got Mercy, and then just Wraith formed back to our team and been perfectly safe. See, we're just standing around, we're not even, like, looking where the enemy is. We don't know where the enemy team is, like, right now. Like, right now, tell me where any of the enemy team are. Because I can't tell you where any of them are, other than, like, Zarya is right in front of us right now. You don't know anything about what the battle's like right now. You've got to be looking around more. You've got to try and figure out where people are so that you can start planning out in your mind where you're gonna go and who you're gonna try and get. We Wraith form very late here. We've, like, already mostly died by the time we Wraith form out, so that's just a little bit late there. And now we're going around the back to look for people. Oh, we just ignored Mercy! We just ignored Mercy! Like, she's our number 1 priority. We look here, and we're like, oh, look at all these people we could choose. Mercy is right here, and she doesn't know we're here. She should be dead right now. We should just pick Mercy and be like, you're fucking dead. And then, but we don't do that. We go, oh, Mei. Oh, no, Mei went into her ice block. Oh, Zarya. Oh, and then we run in a straight line at Zarya, and she just lays into us. It's target prioritization is very big when you're playing a DPS. You have to figure out who is the highest priority, and how am I going to get to them. And right there, it was, like, so straightforward. Mercy was right in front of us. But we kind of ping-pong back and forth, and we end up not really doing very much. Again, we should just be Wraith forming onto the point right now so that we can get on and keep contesting it, since that was clearly going to kill everyone. So, we do get Junkrat right here, and, like, now, this is where a big decision point comes in when you're playing Reaper. You are very low HP right now. You decide to go over here and get into cover, but you needed to try and go for this soul right now, because, like, anyone can kill you. Mercy's gonna kill you right now if she gets the opportunity. When you're playing Reaper and you're in this kind of situation where you're all by yourself, You have to kill someone and you have to eat the soul so that you can sustain yourself and try to snowball your way through the battle. Because instead of doing that, we go over here, and now we're just gonna get just crushed in on while we're low HP, and like, the supports could have killed us at that point. Oh god, it's just immediately restarted. Wasn't expecting that one. Don't exactly use this website very often. So, like, the big thing that really stood out to me is just, like, again, it's like, indecision, you don't really seem like you know what you should be doing a lot of the time, and you seem kind of, aimless in what you're trying to do. But more, it's just like, target prioritization that really stood out to me here, because there are a lot of opportunities in this game where you could have tried to get an easy kill on Mercy, and you just sort of passed the opportunity by, and because we stand around at the choke point so often, just waiting for, like, the perfect grouping with our team where we get to push in all together, we don't see all the other opportunities that we could have had. Like, every time we saw the enemy team, there was an opportunity, 9 times out of 10, there was an opportunity where we could have gotten in and tried to get Mercy or a support really quickly. And, like, just imagine how many more opportunities we could have found if we were just being more proactive on the map, actually looking around and trying to create opportunities rather than waiting for opportunities to come to us. If you're gonna play a DPS, particularly Reaper or Genji, Tracer, they require very decisive action. You have to go, I'm gonna kill you, and this is how I'm gonna do it. And Reaper in particular, because he can be played in a flanker role, but he's not a flanker in the same way Tracer or Genji is, right? Where they can go in and they can kind of figure it out on the fly because they have so much mobility, they can dash around and all that, and, like, deflect and things like that. Reaper has to plan things out. He has to act very deliberately because all of his abilities are very slow. And he is slow. He doesn't have any real mobility other than teleport, but that's very slow. So we have to be looking around the map we have to be very proactively looking around the map, trying to figure out places we could teleport to unnoticed, trying to find people by themselves, and then we just get in, we get them, and then we wraith form back out, and then we try to do it again. Or hopefully our team goes, oh, Reaper just killed someone, we should go in right now. But realistically, that's not going to happen a lot of the time at this ranking. So then we just sort of we start the process again. We start looking for another opportunity to pick somebody off. So that is what I would recommend to you most to work on, is just trying to be more proactive, trying to spend more time looking around, and try to minimize the amount of time you spend just waiting around.